The following program is for mature audiences only. The views expressed by the people and other guests on the podcast are their opinions and their own and don't reflect the institutions or establishments that they work for. So please do not get our asses fired or canceled. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show. Hey, what's going on? It's Jay Whitaker. Welcome back to Glad You Made It podcast. Glad you made it. Glad you're here. It's been a good week. It's been a good week. I want to thank everyone. I'm at shows in Boston, and I want to thank people that are coming out to those shows in Boston. That was really cool. You know, it's hard being it's hard. Stand up is fun, but it's kind of hard, but it's kind of easy, but it's kind of crazy, but it's kind of fun. It's the best. I love it. And to start over in a new city and get love is you can't help but just feel pretty dang good about that. So, it was this one lady. Shout out to Hummus Lady, aka Karen. I had a Karen come through, but in a good way. You have to understand this story. I did a show in Connecticut, like Westport or something. I don't know. But it was at this outdoor venue with a great comedian named Jimmy Cash and Sean Sullivan. Make sure you go check them out. They're wonderful. Hopefully I'll get both of them on the show. But we're doing this outdoor gig. And you know me. I like my birds, which we'll talk about in a minute. I like my birds. I'm in Westport. We're in this outdoor pavilion area. There's like this nice little river, but they call it a sound. I don't like it. Yeah, it's not a don't call it a river or a lake or a creek or something. No, they call it a sound. Like they just different out here. I don't know. So I'm by the sound and I see a red-tailed hawk swoop down and grab a fish from the water. It was the most gangster shit I ever seen in my life. And then I had to go do comedy, and I did it in this outdoor venue. I thought it was gonna rain, but then I was up on the stage. There's maybe like 400 people there. And, but they're so far away from the stage. And I'm like, this is weird. So I just jumped off the stage, hopped out on the grass, sat and did like half of my set, stealing from people's veggie plates and shit. I stole, having, sips of wine and stuff. It was a good time. And then I came across this one lady. She's like, I brought my own hummus. And she was just real sweet, and hung out with her and her family. Did my set, talked to them for a little bit. This was like 3 months ago, and sure enough, after my show in Boston, she's like, "Remember me? I'm Hummus Lady." Which, like, it's like, all right, if that's how you want to be remembered, Hummus Lady. All right, well, thank you. And so it was cool to just kind of get that love. And I'm realizing I'm slowly building a following here in Boston and the New England area. And it's kind of cool. Like, cause I didn't think I have very low expectations when I headline a show out here. And, so when you see people come out, it's really cool. Cause you're just like, oh shit, y'all do care. Y'all kind of maybe possibly know who I am, or maybe you saw that we was giving out free pizza, or you just genuinely want to see comedy. I don't know. But either way, I'm just glad that people came through for a brother. That was real cool. I gotta address the elephant in the room. Full Feather Friday is back. For those who are not familiar with Full Feather Friday, it's really started back in 2016. Yeah, back in 2016, I started on Instagram. Just aggressively typing out bird facts. And like I would comment, I would get all these pictures of birds, and I would just like kind of just I don't know, just aggressively describe them in an urban vernacular, you know, with the urban swagger of a hip hop teen, as the woke would say it. But yeah, I would just kind of just describe it that way, and it was kind of silly, and it just kind of stuck. I did it for like 6 weeks, and then probably back in people liked it, but back in 2020 when we had nothing to do, I brought it back and did it like almost every week for a while. There's like 40 episodes maybe, but I realized it took way too long to do. Plus, I was living with my mother-in-law. Not that she was against it. It was just like I just wanted to be respectful of her household, because the last thing she wants to hear is her future son-in-law screaming about why he likes the California condor so goddamn much. So that's not conducive to who wants to see that. So now that I'm a homeowner, I got a full-on backyard. So I just did the episode. I decided for no reason at all just to do Full Feather Friday again, even though it's almost, the summer's basically over. Hope you had a good summer. Summer's basically over, and bird watching season is not really in. Is not going to really be in, but still, you can still be outside. But now I just decided to bring it back, and I did this whole thing, and it was just good to see the responses from it. People were glad. They're like, "Oh shit, I missed this," and so I'll keep it going. So thank you for supporting. You know, I gave 5 tips on bird watching. You know, there was no like it was people said it was one of my best episodes of Full Feather Friday, and I didn't even feature a bird. That's what it was. For if you don't know what it is, it's just like every Friday I come up with a bird, I aggressively yell facts at you, I hold your timeline hostage for a minute, and then I get the hell out of there. And I did this one, and I just gave 5 bird watching. Like, here's what you need to start bird watching, because it's a very easy hobby to get into. 1, you need a hat. 2, you need binoculars. 3, you need a guide. 4, you need camera. 5, you need patience. That's it. So, you know, I'm just trying to make it, bird watching, seem accessible, so to speak. So that was it. That was, you know, that's some stuff that's coming up. Wise Guys Ogden, I'm going to be there this weekend at Wise Guys Ogden in Utah. Come see me. It'll be a good time. I got some more shows coming up. I'm going up to New Hampshire soon. I got some other shows in the works. I just need to lock them down and confirm them. But I'll keep you all posted, and I appreciate all the Patreon folks that are supporting the show. If you want to support the podcast, go to gladyoumadeit.com go to patreon.com/gladyoumadeitpodcast. I'm going to get right to it. We got a good episode for y'all today. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But I want to give the gratitude to just human beings in general. Okay? I can't speak on certain things right now. But if you follow where I currently live and what things are going on, I would just say, just be kind to people, because you don't know how bad people have got it. Like, you don't really know what people are going through until they go through it. You know? Yeah, you know, just try to be kind to one another. Try to be kind. Also, there was a story. I saw there was some lady, Florida teacher, got fired for twerking on a student. I know that switched gears very quickly, but she got fired for twerking on a student. I want to say, let me confirm this. But like, my big question is, what song was it? Yeah, teacher arrested for twerking on a student. This was a former Christian school teacher, already charged with sex crimes now due to twerking on a student at prom. Okay, at a prom? This was in Florida. What song was it? What song? I think that's the question that we're not asking. Okay? Listen, I this is a weird area, but I just do want to know what song. I'm not supporting this. I'm not against it. I just want to know what song it was. That's a fair perspective. Okay? What song do you think it was? I want to know. Email me, comment, whatever. Well, all I can say is going back to, like, I know I like how I was doing something inspirational and heartfelt, and I immediately switch it to a Christian school teacher twerking on a student at a prom. And I'm gonna try and I'm gonna make a weird attempt to try and make this wholesome. Not what she did, but I'm just gonna say, look, you don't know what people are going through. Try to be kind, you know, and try to be an accessible human being. Don't twerk on students. Don't do that. You know, why does Florida have to Florida? Okay. What? I will tell you who doesn't get gratitude. My damn Raiders. Oh my God. Guys, y'all don't understand. I'm watching the Raiders game with my wife. She knows football but doesn't really get some of the rules. And she saw me like kick a box in sandals. It was, by the way, I had a good Sunday because I had that usually my Sundays after I have a weekend of shows, I like to relax. And I put on my relax underwear. I got this pair of purple spandex, and I wear them when I need to relax. And I wore them all day, and I was dancing. I wasn't twerking on those students, but I was dancing. I had me a good relaxed weekend. But then I watched the Raiders, and I saw they screwed up their game at the last minute, and I kicked the box. I actually was mad. I was like, when did I become this person? We out here kicking boxes. It was an empty box, but I was like, why? We kicking boxes because of football, dude? Like, chill. It's not that serious. But anyway, I appreciate everybody supporting the podcast. We're getting some great views. We're getting some listeners from all over the country, all over the world. It's pretty dope. I like that people rock with me. So this episode is going to be, we don't have a comedian on this episode, but we have our first doctor. We have our first doctor, y'all. Dr. Marisol Capellan. She's a full-time lecturer at the Miami Herbert Business, or she was a full-time lecturer, a leadership and mindset trainer. She's a women empowerment professional speaker and a certified executive coach. Like, we're going to talk about women in the workplace. My wife joins me for this episode. We're going to talk about racial discrimination in the workplace. We're going to talk about that glass ceiling. We really get into that. This woman knows exactly what she's talking about. Like, I just want, like, and if you disagree with her, wait till you hear her story. You know, she has got an amazing story. And why did I even say that? Like, you just listen to what she has to say. She keeps it real. You're going to learn some new words. You're going to learn some new jargon. So I just listen up, have a good time with this episode. I hope that you learn a lot, and I hope that you, if the words resonate with you, I really want to know your perspective. I really want to hear from you, because I know there are women of color that listen to this show. I want to hear your perspective. So please email us at gladyoumadeitpodcast@gmail.com. I want to confirm some of these things that go on in the workplace. And so I just really hope, I just thank everybody for listening to the show. And I can't wait to get into this interview with, first doctor on the episode. All right. Peace. We'll be right back. What's going on, Glad Gang? How are we doing today? In studio today, I am joined by my amazing wife, but we also have, I'm very excited about this guest today. I'm going to read her bio today, because this this is awesome. This is our first doctor that we have on the show. I'm actually very excited about that. Full-time management faculty, associate director of the Masters in Leadership program for Miami Herbert Business School, a certified executive coach, a leadership and mindset corporate trainer, and a professional public speaker. She has a doctorate in higher education, leadership, and administration from the University of Miami. She has delivered workshops for U.S.-based organizations such as American Tower Corporation, NBC Universal, Year Up, and the National Black MBA Association. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Marisol Capellan.
Thank you so much for having me here. Oh, I love how you read the introduction. I just want to make a little note that I'm the former. I used to teach at the University of Miami.
Oh, okay. All right.
Former associate director, which is kind of how I started writing that book.
Okay. All right. Well, I apologize for the intro, but you're our first doctor on the episode, and I do appreciate you just for coming through and just taking time out of your busy day. I know you had to drop your son off to play some tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how you unwind, is doing some podcasting in between.
Yes.
So real quick, so let's just start from the beginning. Could you tell us about where you're from and how did we get here to where we're at now?
Okay, so I'm from the Dominican Republic. I'm Afro-Latina. Yes,
hey.
Island. Yes, and I came to the U.S. when I was 16 years old. And when I came to the U.S., coming from a very poor background, you hear all the time that, U.S. is like the best country in the world and everybody should come to the U.S. and make, all their dreams happen. But when you come here, it's very hard.
Yeah.
So I came here and it was very hard because at 17, I ended up being homeless.
Oh,
and wow. I had to, they call it surf couching or couch surfing. And I slept in somebody else's living room for 2 years, the living room next to a kitchen. But I was very determined to get my education. So while I'm going through that and I'm working at McDonald's and I'm cleaning floors and I'm doing all of these things, I'm still going to school. And I graduated with honors with my bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And then went for my master's degree, where I graduated top of my class. And then I went for my doctoral degree, because we usually tell women and minorities that all you need to do to get ahead in life is just play the system, get your education, get your credentials, get good, get a good performance, make sure you're excellent at everything that you do. And while you're doing that, and I know some women can relate to me and minorities too, sometimes it's not all about the education and the degrees. If you have a terrible manager, you have somebody who cannot see past your color, your gender, it's very hard to get ahead. So I did my dissertation on the trajectory of women to leadership positions. So how do women get to the top? And I discovered, or while I was reading and doing my dissertation, that there are more women than men with degrees and preparation. However, they're not represented. And then, so the problem is not based on whether they're prepared or not, has to do a lot with systemic biases and challenges that they face in their work and also in society.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And I like that you ended that sentence with systemic biases, because to people listening that don't think that this is real, I'm interviewing a doctor on the show to explain this, because a lot of people don't. It's frustrating, because when people hear systemic racism, they hear systemic biasm or biases, they think like, oh, it's not like that. People must be one of the no. These are real things, and they clearly affect lives. And so, what has been the biggest thing, and what has been the biggest thing that you've just learned in this whole process? Just to sum it up, if you had 30 seconds to just explain it,
So the biggest thing that I learned was with my own experience, because when I started working at the University of Miami, I started as a temp And then I moved up to becoming a program manager. And then I worked my way up, and then I became a faculty and I started teaching. And then I just hit that ceiling. Like I just hit a ceiling that I was like,
Yep.
what's going on? Like I have the degrees, I have everything that people supposedly that you need to have. And then it's in a way basically that people are not used to, they're not used to seeing someone like you
Mm-hmm.
maybe be successful or have a leadership role, or maybe when it comes to mothers, people expect that if you're a mother, you don't have time to work on your career, that you have to pick one or the other. Or if you are a Black woman and you have an accent, that you're not competent. So I treat you like you're not competent, even though you may be the person who's more like, who knows about the topic more than everyone else in the room. So
Right.
it's very subtle at the beginning, right? Because it can look like you being in a meeting and you being the expert in that meeting, but then all the questions go to the person that doesn't look like you because they look different than you. And then you have to
Right.
be like in the back saying, but it's me. I'm the
Right.
one who's the
They
expert on
treat
this.
right. It seems like they treat you kind of like a little puppy. You know, I've had this in like now. I'll be the first to say I'm nowhere near as qualified as you, and I wish I had the drive that you have. And but where you get kind of treated like this, this little puppy, and then the second you, I don't know, the second you really start showing your worth and showing your value, all of a sudden they see you as this kind of threat. I don't know if has you
There
ever
is a
experienced
term for
anything like
that.
that, or
That a scientist.
there's a term?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Ooh.
Yes. It's called
We love vocabulary.
it's called the pet to threat phenomenon that happens to Black women.
Ooh.
There
Pet
is
to
a term
threat
to that. So
phenomenon.
I didn't discover this, but when I was reading about what was happening to me in my dissertation, I discovered this phenomenon that has been studied, where Black women are treated like a pet at the beginning, like a little puppy. Like, look, we just hired somebody who's a minority. We hired somebody and we're encouraging her to go out and like pursue her dream. But the minute you start showing your confidence, your confidence, the minute you start showing,
Yeah.
I belong here. I'm not here because I'm a diversity hire or you were doing a favor. I belong
Right.
here because I'm competent. All of a sudden you become a threat because you were never hired to move up in the corporate ladder or to, or to be
Right.
promoted. You were hired to be like, to play a role, which is that role of being like that diverse hire, or that role of like, you're my mentee. But there is a term for that, and that actually shows in the literature. That's why I love to talk about these things.
Wow. I didn't even know there was a thing. I mean, and obviously it's more common with dealing with Black women.
But it happens to minority. I've seen it with.
Yeah. Just it seems like this can go for kind of spread across across. I can't even talk right now. Spread across from everywhere. So another question that I do have is just that. So how do we get rid of it? You know, I know that's a long-winded question.
I truly believe that after the case of the way that I was treated at the university and the things that happened to me, that a lot of those things could have avoided if we had good leadership. And I do feel like a lot of people that are in power right now, they're not there for the right reasons. And we usually see someone who's confident, who's tall, or who has certain qualities, and we automatically think that, oh, that person may be a great leader. Look at their persona. Look how they communicate. They're effective communicators. They have charisma. And all of a sudden we say, oh, that may be a great leader. But that person can be terrible with people. Discriminatory, bully, harasser. But you know what? We're looking at these external qualities and other qualities that really do matter, which is, are they good with people? Are they responsible? Do they develop the talent that are under them? Do they foster a good a culture where people feel safe, where they feel that they belong? We're not measuring leaders by those type of qualities. We're measuring them on the things that are external, the things that we can see. But behind closed doors, like I've had experience with a leader that you see her outside and people may say, well, she's amazing. She dresses so nice and she's so put together and she's so well spoken. And, you know, she's a great person. But then behind closed doors, she was like the worst person I ever interacted with. She was a monster. And then what happened is when you have minorities going through challenges in the workplace and harassment and bullying and discrimination, and then they ask for help from HR, which you learn that HR is not there to help you. It's there to help the company not get sued. So be careful out there.
Yeah.
Then you go and try to get the situation fixed. And then you start seeing, well, the whole system, because now it's not happening in a vacuum. Now everybody knows what's happening, but nobody's willing to step up. So I think leadership needs to change. The people that are in power needs to change. We need a new generation of inclusive leaders, or at least leaders that care about the people that they're serving. And then we also need people who fight against these biases and can look at a person that looks like me or somebody who looks like a minority and say, well, that person is fit for a leadership role. The same way that this person can be fit for a leadership role. Their race and gender doesn't mean anything about their potential.
I mean, yeah, it should be focused on, do they do the job? Are they great with people?
Yeah.
And do they, and are they knowledgeable? And, we always talk about celebrating diversity and that's our strength. And, I'm still in the military, and that's, we still say diversity is our strength. And in a lot of companies, it seems like, especially in the last couple of years, that the focus on, you say DEI 10 years ago, people are like, what are you talking about? But now it seems like it's such an important acronym that's part of our everyday lexicon that it's just like, okay,
but is it really happening?
Now, but that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Is it really happening? Because there is another term, which is called performative allyship. And I see that a lot of companies have been doing that, which is a lot of
performative allyship.
It's performative because we're doing it for our own social capital or to appear that we care, to show people that we're women's first. I mean, I've seen the company, like even when I talk about the university where I used to work at, where like simultaneously while things were happening to me, they're out there saying like, we're one of the best employers for women. And you're like, what? Did you interview any of the women that are working inside the company? Like, who told you that you were one of the best employers for women? So who are they interviewing before they go out there and say, Forbes ranked us as one of the best, companies for diversity or for minorities? So I always like to see, I used to tell my students, like, if you want to see whether a company is diverse or not, you can always talk to the people, see how the climate is, but also look at their leadership. Like if I go into a company's board or a company's like hierarchical system and I see that all the minorities are in the bottom, like administrative roles or roles that have to do with cleaning or everything in the bottom. And I say, the more you move up, the lighter and male it becomes. I'm like, so where is the diversity at? Are we doing diversity only at the bottom? Like, no, it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't, but it happens. And so I have a friend who was recently hired by a financial institution. I will not name the financial institution, but that, this woman is of Latin descent, and she, basically they were looking for diversity hires, but she is a little underqualified, and she told me that in confidence, but she didn't want to pass up on the opportunity to take that position. And so it's like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. It's because you want the opportunity to move up in the world, but it's just like you feel like, or are they just pandering? Just, are they actually going to put me in a position to win? Are they going to give me the support? Are they going to give me the mentorship, the training that they need? And so that's why it's like, sometimes I feel like, are we being put in this position where we're set up to fail?
Yeah. And I completely get where you're coming from, because it has happened to women. There is a term called the glass cliff phenomenon. I'm like dropping terms here, but
I
basically,
know, but this is
Love
no,
it.
this is
Love it.
awesome.
it's basically where women are hired when there is a problem in the company, like people are going through financial crisis, and then they put a woman in charge, like knowing that she's gonna take the blame for what's going on, and that has been researched in studies before. And that's why when I did my dissertation and I wrote about inclusivity and specifically about women, I said their company needs to be intentional, not only when they hire, but the whole trajectory of the diversity hire. If you're going to hire somebody who's from a diverse background, because supposedly you care about diversity, then what's the plan in the next 3 years? Are you putting that person in the programs, the training, the mentorship, like you said, the sponsorship? And then how are you going to make sure that the person stay on track to move up the ladder? Like this diversity hiring that happens only like, oh, let's just show that we hire 20 Black faculty. Yeah, but why don't you mention how many faculty left last year? Because the culture is so toxic. So, you have these numbers that, people go out and these companies say, yes, we have this. We improved our talent pool. We're bringing people. Yes, but how many people are leaving? Because the culture is toxic. Right. So I think we have to look at both things. It's not about hiring, but about retaining the talent and developing the talent.
Yeah.
Retaining talent. I feel like that also creates a pressure on those people getting hired that, okay, we hired you. Now you got to, prove yourself. And it's like, they just get put in an impossible situation. And
it's very challenging mentally because you're in a situation and then people around you and some people that think you don't belong there, they will be very quick to remind you that, you're the base hire. You're not supposed to be here. Or maybe it's going to be more subtle where people go out to lunch and then don't invite you because, it's like they hire you as a favor. And it's like, that's not the case. Like, that's not how you treat people.
That's not how you treat people at all. So, and it sadly happens. I know anybody that's listening, I know there are people, I have friends that listen to the show and I know that they're listening and I'm thinking of a few faces in particular. What would you say to someone that is dealing with that situation right now? So
somebody who's dealing with that situation right now, I will say that if possible, because I know everybody's situation is different, I will go somewhere else. Because if the people, your manager, are treating you like that, that comes from the culture, that comes from leadership. It took me a while to realize that because I thought, okay, so it's my managers who's acting like that towards me. But maybe it's the leader knows about it and they know what's going on. They will protect me. But it's usually not. She was empowered to do what she did because she knew she could get away with it. Right? So we have to think of like the big system that happens. Like it's not about the person who's doing it to you, but that person has been empowered to do those things. They can do it because they can get away with it. So do you want to work in a system? Do you want to work in a company that treats you that way? And sometimes you don't have any choice because some of us, I've met people that are single mothers. We have the wealth gap because not everybody had the same opportunity to build generational wealth. So not everybody can just pick up and leave. That's another thing that we can talk about.
We can talk about it. We can get into it. I know what's going on, but go ahead.
I like to talk about.
Please explain generational. When we talk about
diversity and inclusion, people just think about like the diversity high, but you don't understand the systemic. Like you're trying to solve something systemic, which is if there was a time in the U.S. that Black families wouldn't be able to buy houses in the nice neighborhoods, right?
It's called redlining.
The redlining. So you know about that, right? So what happens like years and years and years later where you have certain families who were able to buy houses and build wealth, and then certain families who could not. Generationally, there is a lot that we're trying to do to catch up, to have the same wealth and the same opportunities as everybody else. So when you're doing like a diversity hire, like you have to think about like the social component of helping somebody that comes from a diversity background. It's not only about a company showing that you have a diversity hire, what can that person do? What can that person do for his whole or her whole family? Like, people don't understand sometimes I remember when I was hired at one point, right, and I was homeless, I was an immigrant, and people that work in diversity and inclusion, they ask me, oh, that's weird that you don't own a house. We all own houses. And I'm like, you cannot, how can you even work in diversity and inclusion? I don't understand that the cards that we have a huge impact in the type of quality of life that we have. So, of course, I didn't have mommy and daddy paying for a lot of things for me. So I'm not saying that because to like justify the way that I am right now in my the economic, financial that I have in my life, because I'm a true believer that you can set your mind into doing whatever you want in your life and achieve it. I'm a mindset coach, so I will be the first one to empower you to get out of the rut and get out there and do things. That's why I got a doctorate very early in my life, and I got a master's degree, and I got all of these. Like, you can achieve all of those things, but I'm also cannot pretend that there are systemic things that are affecting the quality of life that people from minority backgrounds have. And I think that it's very important that companies that are doing these diversity hires are really trying to make an impact in society. If I give this person that comes from an underprivileged background an opportunity and help them move up the ladder, I'm not only helping them, but I'm helping their next generation. So maybe their next generation can go to a private school. Maybe their next generation can go on nice trips, like I can go in nice trips with my family. So people are they think that we have like a level playing field, and that's not the case.
Hey, what's up, guys? Okay, so due to technical difficulties, this episode, we lost 20 minutes of this episode. 20. Her connection dropped out. My connection went bad. So unfortunately it is lost, but we do have the ending of this episode when she came back into the chat session, and it ended up being really good. So just continue, stay strong with this. I really wish we could get the part where she talked about mindsets and talked about, her story growing up and, starting out at McDonald's, and it may have gotten into that. I'm not really sure, but I apologize for the delay on this episode and the technical difficulties. Come on, you know how this goes. So be nice. Matter of fact, while you're at it, this is a slight commercial break, but while you're at it, go to iTunes or Spotify, leave us a review, an honest one. If you like us, great. If you love us, even better. If you hate us, okay, then that's fine. Work on yourself. I'm trying out here. But this episode's late, and but we're gonna still get it to you. Let's get right back into it. Let's close out strong. All right. Welcome back. It's all good.
Okay, good. So you were talking about your wife and you being broke at one time?
Yeah.
I love it.
Back to that.
Back to that.
Our broke asses.
I love it. Because I'm going to tell you, my best moments have been me working things out with my husband. It's that's where real partnership comes in.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, if you can go through that together, then you're solid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or just either financial stress or
emotional
disaster,
stress.
Emotional stress, financial stress, and then throw in a little dash of a natural disaster. We had to deal with some flooding in our house, and we had just bought the house, and financial stress, emotional stress, and on top of that, I was trying to plan her birthday party, and then we had to cancel it, like, because the whole power went out. But we realized, like, we can get through a lot of things. We can literally get through a storm together because we've been through a lot of things together. And just seeing those times where we can remind each other, like, yo, we've been through this. We, you know, if we made it through all of these negative situations and all these things that could easily take us out, we can survive anything. So I'm very fortunate, very grateful.
So I saw something yesterday that I thought it was very impactful. You know how people, they're all out there trying to make money, and trying to be successful.
Yeah.
And which is fine. If this is your, you know, if that's your goal in life, it's fine. And, you know, I like money, so good. But I mean, I like money. I wouldn't lie about that. But you know, when you don't have somebody with you, or when the people that you love are sick, like very sick, and no money in the world can save them, I'm like,
yeah,
I've seen stories like this, and I'm like, you know, sometimes you just realize, like, if you are healthy and you're alive and your loved ones are with you, that's all that matters. Because, you know, why, if you have everything but you cannot have health, that's very tough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'm just grateful that I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for a little bit of wealth, just a little bit, not a lot, but a decent smidgen.
Good, because it comes, it keeps coming when you're grateful for the little things. The big things come.
Yeah, you know, and like when we moved in, we bought our first house last year, and we celebrated like big time because that, you know,
huge milestone.
We knew it. Yeah, we knew it was a process, and so you got to celebrate the little things, I believe. You know, so I do want to talk, because I know we talked about writing letters to ourselves, but now I do want to talk about something that you have written, and you're working on your book is done.
Yes, we're good. We're going through the copywriting process right now. And now we're doing the pre-sale of the book. So I did a crowdfunding program that the Georgetown University has, where they help you like write the book. Yeah, yes, but then you have to raise money to publish the book. So they call it a hybrid process, or hybrid publishing. So now, in order for my book to be actually published and be in the hands of people in Barnes and Nobles and everywhere, I need to sell pre-sale 200 copies. So I'm trying to, you know, pre-sell the book. It's totally something new, never done this before. It's very different than being in academia and writing articles for like magazines. I'm like, it's actually something that I have to knock on doors and be like, please buy my book. But the book basically talks about my experience in academia. And I talk about my experience because it was very traumatic. It's been very hard to write the book, because every time I write about the experience, I kind of relive it. So you're getting it like fresh from what happened to me very recently in the status basically of women in academia and Black women in academia, and all these diversity hires and things that I witnessed, things that happened to me. And I also interviewed Black women and Afro-Latinas that work in tech. So I interviewed women that work in Meta, IBM, and all these companies. And I basically asked them, like, how was your career trajectory? What happened? Like, have you experienced like good treatment? Like, and all of those things are written in the book. And one of the things that I found very interesting is this grief of success. How I call it in the book is the term grief of success. Is a lot of the Black women that I interviewed, they talked about, like, you know, hustling and trying so hard, but the pathway for them to achieve leadership positions was so hard that when they achieved it, they felt more grieved than actually success, because they felt like they got lost in the process. It shouldn't have been that hard. They made it hard. Like, people makes it hard, like so unnecessary, that they feel like they have to code switch, change who they are, give up their personality, assimilate to another culture in order to
make all these sacrifices. Yeah.
But by the time they get it, they just feel like, was it worth it? And basically what I'm trying to do is show people, like, this is what's really going on. Like, this is not just D&I is not just a buzzword. This happens, and this is how you're impacting the lives of people and are impacting the well-being of women out there, and the well-being of Black women and Afro-Latinas, and is inhumane, unnecessary, is very bad. So that's what I'm trying to do. Is basically show leaders how they can be inclusive and responsible, and also show Black women and Afro-Latinas and women, like, this is what some people go through, and it's not easy. And some people can make it. You know, I've heard people that say, well, some people can make it. I'm like, but does it have to be this way with career hazing and all? Yeah, so that's basically
wow. And then the name of the book is Leadership is a Responsibility, correct? Yes. All right. So, and how can we support? Where can we find it?
So I will send you the link. It's like Marisol Capellan manuscripts.com, but I'm going to send you the link so you can put it maybe in the show notes or something. But yes, that's the website is up there. It talks a little bit about my story, and then the ways that you can support. You can either buy the book or buy several copies, or hire me as a keynote speaker, hire me as a trainer. All of those funds are going into the book publishing.
Right on. Baby, did you have any questions for the doctor?
I do. So I'm kind of interested, as far as I know, you're saying one of the big things that need to change is leadership and the people involved in these companies. And I'm curious what you think as far as, you know, the younger generations that are coming into the workforce. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting time with, you know, Twitter and social media and, you know, quote unquote woke culture. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of curious where you think that's going, because I feel like we're seeing a lot of both extremes, where we are seeing a lot of support for diversity and inclusion, but at the same time, we're also seeing the extreme on the other side. So I'm kind of curious where you potentially see that going in the future.
So that's very interesting, because what research has shown is that the baby boomer generation, if you have the baby boomers are leaving the workforce right now, right? But Gen X, we don't have enough Gen X's to take over those leadership roles and those managerial roles, because there are less population of those people in the workforce. So now, companies have to promote millennials and Gen Zs. So that just for that generation, that what's happening in the generations in the workforce is going to force company to promote people that are younger into higher positions, because you don't have the talent pool. If you look at the numbers of the people that are leaving and the people that are being promoted, the people that are entering, there is a huge gap in the amount of people that we have available that are from Gen X. And Gen Z has demonstrated that they do care a lot about making a social impact and being engaging in corporate responsibility. So I do think that is going to change the way that we look at companies and the role that companies play in society. And I think that's why we've seen company all of a sudden like taking a stance on certain things, because Gen Zs are demanding that, and people are demanding that, and they're just saying, well, you have a huge power structure in this society. You have to do something about this. And I feel that, now companies are taking on those roles. I don't know how good or bad it's going to be in the future, right? Because we're talking about, it's going to be good for society in the future that companies are involved. But like you said, when they're involved, they can be involved for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. So before we used to have companies used to be like, well, I don't want to talk about politics, and I don't want to talk about, religion, and I don't want to do that. I just want to go and do my company. But now the times are changing, and people are demanding that from companies, and who knows what's going to happen. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen 30 years from now. But I do know that people are realizing that this discrimination and exclusion of minorities cannot continue on. It's not sustainable. It's not fair. It's inhumane. And minorities are going to become the new majority, because the demographics are that Hispanics are growing in population. And and Black students and Hispanic students were like, there are more people that look like me that are a minority in higher education than white students. So inevitably, like something needs to change. Like either companies change and become more inclusive, or the demographics is going to force them to go into that direction. But there is no coming back. Like I think we started to change now, but it's going to eventually change. It has to change.
Well, and that's exactly what needs to change. Pardon my dog is being. Okay. Kat, would you go? Would you? Is he good? All right, never mind. Okay, we're good. We're gonna keep. You know what? We're gonna keep this in the audio. All right, but before we get out of here, because I know we both gotta head out. But what would you say to yourself going back? You know, to you as during some of your worst times. What would you say to yourself, knowing who you are now? What would you say to that person?
I will say, one of the things I will say is everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Very simple. And I will say this because when you're going through tough times, your brain will convince you that the world is falling apart, that there is no way out, that this is the last straw. What are you going to do from here? Who's going to respect you? What's going to happen? And one of the experiences that taught me that was before I came to the US, I was pregnant at 15. And it was very hard because, being a teenager and pregnant. And then, I eventually lost the baby and everything. But when that was happening, I remember feeling like, oh, this is the end of my life. Like, this is sad. Like, there is nothing that, like, I'm not going to be able to go to school. I'm not going to be able, and I can see how that can play in your head whenever you're going through tough times. But then I look at myself now and I'm like, since that happened, I came to the US. I have my bachelor's degree. I have 2 kids. I'm married. I'm a certified coach. I coach people from Facebook, Google, Warner Media. I get invited to go into different companies in different cities. I just came from Mexico doing a speech.
Let's go.
I wouldn't think that was possible for me at that moment, at the time, because your brain will tell you that the world is falling apart. And if you are going through tough times, I will tell you, you're going to go through it. Like, it's something that in life, you just have to go through it. It's not something that punishes you and then it finishes you. You have to think of life as something that you're just walking through it. What happened to me at my job was very bad, was very inhumane, was very sad. It really shook my confidence. It shook my identity as a person. It shook a lot of things in me. But then I had to remind myself, I'm just going to go through it. 20 years from now, I'm going to look back and say, I knew it was going to be okay. So I think that's the message. It's going to be okay.
That's the message, right? That's the message. And you mentioned falling apart. So I got to ask you, last thing. Why you worked at McDonald's? Why is the damn ice cream machine always falling apart? I need to know
I don't know.
Doctor.
I only know that I used to be in the drive-thru telling people that the ice cream machine is always broken. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I think there was an article that was published in the Harvard Business Review that talked about how bad customer service is actually good for companies. They make money. I don't know how, but it's like retaining people. Like, for some reason, people don't give up things that don't work for them, so they just keep calling, and that makes them more money. There is an article over there, so you should look it up. It said how bad customer service creates revenue for companies. So maybe there is something about that ice cream machine that maybe what's going on is people have the hope that one day it's going to be fixed, so they keep coming back and spending money.
Okay, fair enough. I had to ask. So I appreciate you. I really appreciate you just taking your time out and stopping by. And please, everyone that's listening, make sure you check her out. Go to her website and her Instagram. You follow. What's your Instagram again?
Prof.
I'm sorry.
Capellan, PROF, like Professor Capellan, CAPELLAN.
Capellan or Capellan as well. Yeah. Okay. Because I was like,
sorry,
wait a minute.
I've been assimilated.
We don't need the code switch on this show. Okay. So, but thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. It really means the world to me and Kat. And so, we just wish the best of luck for you. And we know, looking forward to seeing you on your next TED Talk. Hopefully, maybe you and McDonald's can work something together and get these damn ice cream machines fixed.
McDonald's, if you're listening to this, I'm going to be your next D&I person, okay?
Yeah, cut her a check.
Oh, that's another thing we didn't talk about, but that's in the next one. About money.
Okay.
Money.
When
if you care about it, pay.
When the book drops.
Yeah. And I'm glad I made it.
Exactly. Glad you made it. See, she did the name of the thing. She did the name of the show, y'all. First doctor that we've had on the show.
And I'm glad I made it through this podcast. Yes.
Thank you so much, so much. I'm going to take you out, and you have a great day.